In this video, we're going to go over several pieces of amazing workflow wisdom that I've learned editing for like the last 15 years. It's just a little coffee chat, a little real talk, and let's do it. So first of all, I posted a video the other day on how to learn really quickly. And this is probably my biggest piece of advice. And so if you haven't checked that out, check it out here. But that kind of builds from our first principle here, which is you have to put in time and effort to actually practice, focused practice to build your editing skills, because experience is key. The more ways that you can hack your experience, that means get a whole bunch of experience in a small amount of time with small effort, the better. Because think about the difference if you sit down to edit a YouTube video and it's the 100th video that you've edited versus the first video that you've edited. How much more comfortable are you going to be with the 100th video? So the more reps that you can get in on any skill that you want to learn, the better. And a lot of what we'll talk about in this video is based on that one principle. For this example, we're going to talk about shooting like a 30-second short film. This is something that anyone can do no matter what kind of gear you have. If you have a cell phone of some kind, a smartphone that's been made in the last few years, you can probably do this. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you is start making stuff. Shoot little dumb films with your phone or with your camera or whatever equipment that you have. One thing I like to do is kind of take baby steps. So if I have the goal of making a award-winning short film that wins at a festival, and right now I have no idea how to do any of that, start out with just your guess on the first step. So maybe it's get a camera and shoot a shot of somebody looking into a field. Go and get your camera and shoot that shot. It doesn't have to be the perfect actor or actress. It can be your dog. It can be a teddy bear. Get that shot and bring it into Resolve and edit it and color correct it and render it out, because that gives you so much experience. Once you do that, go back and shoot 2 shots and go through the same thing again. Do 3 shots, do the same thing again. Reshoot it 10 times. This is all just a game of experience. Do the first step so much that it feels ridiculous that you're practicing it again. Once you get just absolutely mind-numbingly bored, that's about the time you can move on to something a little bit more intense. So that's kind of the first point here, is learn in chunks, do easy stuff a lot. Do it a lot. Do it until it's easy. Next, if you're going to shoot a movie, I would recommend doing a run through. What the heck is a run through? A lot of people, when they're shooting a movie, will write the script and then plan out a shot list and do a storyboard and all of that. And those are all great things. And if those are things that you really like, then absolutely do that. But what I really like, because I'm not like a super organized person, is I like to shoot a rough draft of the movie before I shoot the real one. And that's what we call a run through. So if it's a person coming out of their door and walking to the car, looking around and getting in the car, we'll go out and shoot some rough version of that. Maybe not even with the right actor, maybe not in the right place, not the right car, but some version of that story with similar shots and similar framing. Doesn't even have to be the same camera, it could be on your phone or whatever, and bring that in and edit it. Because more than likely, you're gonna see, oh, actually, we need this other shot that I didn't even think about getting. That would make this a lot better. Or, oh, it doesn't make sense for him to walk from left to right. He should be walking right to left. Think about the last time you were editing a video and you looked at it and you go, gosh, we should have gotten that shot. Just do that first. Make all of your mistakes quickly with the rough draft. Make the entire movie a couple times. And then when it comes time to actually use the real actors in the real locations, and you're spending money on pizza and all the other things that are involved in an indie production, this is the 3rd time you've made this same movie and you know exactly what to do. You have the experience. That's an experience hack. Again, run through, such a good idea. Another great thing about having a run through is you can get feedback early. Lately, I've become really excited with getting feedback on things that I'm working on before I put a whole bunch of time into it. I want to think about all of the different aspects of this before I put a bunch of time and energy into something. And so the run through is a perfect thing. You can show this run through movie to your mom and your friends and everybody, and make sure that the story makes sense, make sure that the shots look decent, make sure that the shots are telling the story that you want, make sure that the pacing is decent, and you can get feedback early when it's really easy to change stuff. You can get an extra shot and throw it in there even though the lighting doesn't match. And you can get a really good idea of that story and incorporate the feedback that people give you without having to spend a bunch of time and energy and money on actually creating your real movie yet. A run through is just one way to kind of check if all of the parts work first. It's kind of similar to running through your workflow beforehand. This happens so often, right? Like I'll see somebody watch a YouTube video that makes it seem really simple to do XYZ. And they'll go, oh, okay, for my movie, I'll just do XYZ. but they don't have any experience. They don't know the intricacies of why something might be a lot harder than it seems like it is on a tutorial. But the tutorial makes it look easy, and so they go, okay, we'll just shoot the movie and then we'll do this effect in Fusion, or we'll green screen this guy out or whatever. And the truth is, things are almost never as easy as they seem like they're going to be. A while back, we got really excited about making videos with Unreal Engine, and there are tons of videos on how to do this kind of thing in Unreal from people that have a lot of experience with Unreal Engine. And they make it seem really simple. And so we were like, psh, yeah, no problem. And it was a freaking nightmare. It was so hard because we just didn't have much experience. And when you get in the weeds in your own context, in your own project, things aren't as easy as that, which again goes back to try it out early, do some test shots, do some test renders, make sure it looks the way that you want, go through every part 2 or 3 times until it just feels stupid. And then when it really counts, things aren't so stressful. So far, we've talked a lot about prep and practice and just building your skills. Here's a couple wisdom nuggets from years of doing this that are just a little bit more practical. When it comes to video production, there are some things that are worth the trouble and some things that aren't. Mainly what I'm talking about is resolution and codec and camera formats and that kind of thing. It might feel really sexy and really exciting to shoot in 12K RAW, and that might be a great idea. And maybe you'll bring it into Resolve and you'll be really excited because you can adjust the raw image and you can zoom in and you can do all these cool things, but it absolutely murders your system. And then if you want to do anything in Fusion, I mean, boy, or if you're doing noise reduction or magic mask or depth map or oh god, but you'll just really quickly run into problems with not getting good playback, not getting good performance, your software crashing. I mean, it's just awful. And here's the thing I've learned about all of that. Shooting in the very, very best codec in the very highest resolution is often a good idea, but there are things to keep in mind. One is, how much storage space do you have? Do you have a 64 gigabyte card? You're probably not going to want to shoot RAW, especially at 12K or 8K or even 4K. That's going to fill up that card pretty darn quick. And so that's a workflow consideration. Maybe you have plenty of space or you're using an SSD or something like that. And so you shoot that format, you bring it into Resolve, and you feel like you have a pretty good computer, but you're not quite getting the playback that you want. Even if you're getting the playback that's just a little bit slower. Normally it plays at 24 frames a second, but you're getting 22 frames a second, and it'll play 24 for a while, and then it'll just kind of like drop a frame. That kind of thing, where your computer has that little hiccup, just a tiny bit, that adds up. And especially if you're working on a big complicated project, if every time you move the mouse, it takes 1 second for the footage to catch up, all of those seconds add up. And it makes the process of editing just a little bit awkward. And so that causes friction in your workflow. And the more friction you have, the more problems you have, and the longer things take, and the less enjoyable it is. And so the first question is, do you actually need that resolution? Maybe not. Do you actually need to shoot in RAW? Maybe not. The truth is that it's very, very difficult to see the difference between 12K and 4K. You just don't see that much of a difference on like a 4K monitor. You also don't see that big of a difference between RAW and something like ProRes. It just doesn't matter that much. And you might say, oh, well, I want the RAW controls. I want to be able to change the ISO and change the exposure in post. Here's a dirty little secret. If you shoot in log, you'll be able to change that stuff just as well, for real. Now, I know there's going to be somebody in the comment that's like, actually, it doesn't matter. It is arguably better to adjust your exposure or your white balance in the raw palette of the color page in Resolve, for instance. But the truth is, you can get 99.999% of the way there using the regular color grading tools in Resolve. And while a raw format captures a lot more colors and dynamic range and everything, if it's converted to log, it's pretty much exactly the same. You'd never notice a difference. And so the question is, do you shoot 12K RAW or 4K ProRes in log? I would be very surprised if it even made a noticeable difference between those two. And the 4K ProRes is a lot easier to deal with. The only thing to consider is if it windows the sensor. So if you're kind of cropping from a high resolution sensor and just kind of like using the middle of it, that's going to look worse. But if you're scaling it, it looks the same in most circumstances. This is even true with visual effects, because I know somebody's going to comment and say, actually, for green screen, it's very important that you shoot the very highest codec in the highest resolution, because that's going to give you the very most amount of information to do a color key. You're right, brother. You're smart and right. However, it's not going to make a practical difference. You're not going to get a wildly better key. It will be slightly better, but it will be a ton more work. Do you need to go through that much work? Is it worth it? something to think about. So one of the things that we do when we make a lot of videos is we don't necessarily always shoot in the biggest and most amazing codec. We shoot in the format that makes sense for the context. Sometimes that's a really compressed codec. If you're shooting a vlog where you're not going to do a bunch of visual effects or anything, you can shoot H.264, H.265, and it's probably going to be fine. You can shoot stuff on your phone. It's going to be fine. And when we do shoot things in 4K, 6K, 8K, 12K, a lot of the time, what we do is transcode that video to be something that's reasonable, like a 4K ProRes or even a 1080 ProRes. Guess what? One of our films that we put out recently was completely edited and composited and everything in 1080. Can you guess which one? Probably not. So it's totally okay to optimize your files so that they're easier to edit in Resolve. It's totally okay to use proxies.
Now hold on a minute, I shouldn't have to use proxies. I have a NVIDIA 40,000 graphics card with 3700 CUDA cores and its own waffle machine.
Nobody cares. If you can't scrub through your timeline and cut clips without any lag at all, you're wasting time. Make the proxies. The proxy workflow in Resolve is amazing. You got no excuse. Next piece of advice, and this is a really big one, is to work in passes. I've harped on this before, but if you're editing a 30-second video, go through and rough it in first from beginning to end. Put all of the clips that need to go into the video in there. Don't worry about trimming them and making them look great. Just put them in there. If it ends up being a 2-minute long edit, that's fine. From beginning to end, fix the great big problems. Then from beginning to end, fix the medium problems. And then from beginning to end, fix the small problems and keep going through the entire thing, pass after pass, getting more and more picky. When you do it this way, you get the minimum viable product as soon as possible. And so if you run out of time, or you have to deliver it to the client, or you just get tired of working on it, at least you have something that is somewhat watchable. And this is the opposite of the technique of making your intro and spending a week trying to get the graphics right and spending 3 days trying to get that animation to work right and getting the opening shot. I see this all the time. You spend forever on the first 5 seconds of your video and you don't have anything else after that because you haven't even thought about the rest of the clips. And maybe when you would have had an opportunity to go and shoot a pickup shot or something like that, now the opportunity's missed because the shoot was a month ago, because you've been tweaking your intro for a whole month. Get in there and do your rough edit as soon as possible from beginning to end. This is part of the early feedback thing. Get it going as soon as possible and work in passes, and don't get super detailed until you have everything else 80% there. Then you can focus on the last little details. And this works for editing, this works for effects, this works for color grading, this works for audio mix, everything. Work in passes. And my last piece of advice, and this is the most important, even though I've been talking enthusiastically throughout this video and giving you wisdom that I think is pretty important, the biggest thing here is don't take this too seriously. Don't take video production too seriously. There are very, very few situations where if your video is bad, that people are going to die. It's just not that serious most of the time. We're making movies. We're making videos to help entertain people or inform people or help them laugh. That's what we're doing. And so if you're stressed out making a video, take a deep breath. This isn't heart surgery, this isn't like some kind of military maneuver or something like that. This is creating media. And if you're not having fun while you do it, or if it stresses you out, or if it feels like the most important thing in your life, it's time to take a step back. We have a saying around our studio that we throw around quite a bit. It's a good thing we're just making movies, because when we get too focused or too stressed out, or we're having an argument, that can pretty easily diffuse the situation. And it's like, I can't believe you want this actor to walk in like this. It's a good thing we're just making movies. It's not that big a deal. If you want to learn how to make some movies and have some fun, we have a course on that right there. I hope this has been helpful. What's your favorite part? What's something that kind of stuck out to you? Put them in the comments, all right? I want to know.
My favorite part was when the video ended. I felt like the video was great up until 1 second, and then after that, it really went downhill.